Serious. What is a seemingly normal photo that has a disturbing backstory? Attention. Serious. Tag notice, jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted in any comment, parent or child. Parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit if you have any questions or concerns. The leading image on Franklin Delano Floyd's Wikipedia page. A father and his daughter posing for a family photo. In actuality, the little girl is Floyd's stepdaughter, Suzanne Marie Chavakis, who he'd kidnapped around 1974, when Suzanne was under 10 years old. He would go on to raise her as his daughter, putting her through high school under several pseudonyms, then have a son with her, Indiana 19881, and marry her in 1989, under the name Tanya Hughes. By 1990, Suzanne had decided to leave Floyd, and take her son, Michael, with her. In April of that year, she was found beaten and bruised on the side of a highway, and subsequently died in hospital. Michael went into foster care and was adopted by a loving family, only to be kidnapped by Floyd in 1994 and to never be seen again. Floyd was arrested in late 1994. The news about his late second wife being his kidnapped stepdaughter didn't come out until 2014. Someone rightly pointed out that Michael is not Floyd's biological son. This was only discovered when DNA testing was performed as part of Michael's adoption in 1994, when he was 4 or 5 years old. Presumably, up until that point, Floyd had reason to believe he was the biological father. Photos of his were found that depicted sexual exploitation of Suzanne, Tanya, from the age of 4. He was 30 feet under. How long does that take on average to swim up from? I mean, geez, this sucks. Misjudged how long he could hold his breath. Edit to say I've been corrected in the comments. It was scuba, free diving, science shit, not lung user error, and just didn't make it back up. Fuck. Imagining those moments for the woman. Waiting. Where is he? He just swam away. He should be here any moment to hear my yes to his proposal. What's taking so long? And then what? She goes up to the surface from the room and sees his body? Or is it out of sight down below somewhere? Like fuck. The logistics of these moments are what make it real for me. This looks like a stock photo of a violin. The instrument in that picture is the Hartley violin. It was owned by Wallace Hartley, the bandmaster and lead violinist on the Titanic. It was the one he carried with him on the night the ship sank. Survivors reported seeing Hartley and his band on the deck of the ship during the sinking, playing to calm passengers as they boarded the insufficient lifeboats. This is the exact instrument he played. Hartley and every member of the band died in the sinking. We have his violin because at some unknown point before his death, Hartley tucked the violin back into its monogrammed case for safekeeping. That's how it was found, floating in the debris field, by one of the ships sent to recover bodies from the wreck. They were able to identify it as Hartley's because of an engraved brass plate, and it was returned to his fiancée, who kept it until her death. Her family authenticated it and sold it for $1.6 million to an organization that collects Titanic artifacts. A kid went missing hiking a spot on the Big Island of Hawaii. He texted some pictures of the scenery while he was hiking. After he never showed up at home, his family noticed somebody lurking in bushes in the photos he sent. My family that live in Hawaii said the spot is illegal to hike at, so it's not like it would have been a heavily populated trail. More info, and the photo in question, https://www.hawaiiansnow.com/story/28401461/family of missing Big Island hiker asking for public help to identify man in photo/. If I recall correctly, Bart had flunked out of college, but his parents still believed he was attending and even giving him money for tuition, which he was blowing on booze, etc. They were out to dinner to celebrate his graduation. He didn't even pull the trigger. He got his friend to do it. Bart also told the cops the shooter was black to keep suspicion away from his friend. I went to high school with Kevin. He was a few grades above me, but I had some friends who were close to him. By all accounts, he was one of the sweetest people to ever walk the earth. Bart is a stone-cold sociopath, and the only reason he's still alive is his father begged the state of Texas to not take his only living son from him. A true senseless tragedy with no silver linings whatsoever. Fuck Bart Whitaker. This story is legit. The Larimer County Coroner's Office said Thursday that the cause of death was drowning, but hypothermia was also a significant condition. According to the coroner's report, Naomi fell into the pond around 5 p.m. and was found some time later. On Thursday, some questioned the pond's placement, which is a few yards down a sloped hill from the Loveland Sports Park playground. The pond is literally a couple steps from the playground. It is extremely difficult to watch multiple toddlers, preschoolers at that park, as there are pillars and other obstructions in the way of the view. I moved here 31 years ago, and have been saying that pond is a disaster waiting to happen since the beginning. It is a stupid place for a pond, an irresponsible place, a poorly thought-out place, and a dangerous place. Such a tragedy, Tara Wilson wrote to the Coloradoan on Facebook. This picture of a bed in a child's room. Sad story of a missing 4-year-old later found dead from asphyxiation wedged at the foot of her bed between mattress and frame. You can barely make out the little bulge of her body in that pic, but you can. The picture of the bed ran on the news and the mom did interviews while sitting on it. There's more graphic pics of what it looked like with the blankets removed and the body uncovered, but I'm gonna go ahead and not link that. Her body wasn't found after professionals and dogs searched the room. It was found once the smell got bad enough. Also, I'm pretty sure I read someone slept in the bed during that time, but not sure on that. The Lady of Silence. Juana Barraza, former luchadora and serial killer. She strangled old ladies by pretending to work for the government. Sad story. She was sold to some dude as a sex slave for 3 beers when she was 12 until her stepdad found her at 17. Ended up with 4 failed marriages and 4 kids and worked doing odd jobs as a laundress or cleaner or something. Then started killing and robbing old ladies if they pissed her off because they reminded her of her abusive mom. Sad and fucked up story. I always end up thinking about what-ifs when I read about backstories. What if they had been saved early? What if their illness had been taken seriously? What if there wasn't discrimination? What if they were caught looking at negative propaganda? Would they have continued to commit these crimes? Monsters creating monsters. This photo was of 16-year-old Angeles Rawson coming back from the gym to her apartment minutes before she was kidnapped, raped, strangled to death, and thrown in a trash bag to hide any evidence. The killer ended up being her apartment block doorman, who ended up being sentenced to life in prison. It made big waves when the murder happened in Argentina back in 2013. This photo of a scuba diver. What you're seeing is a normal photo of a scuba diver, but in the background you can see another diver behind them booking it for the ocean floor. And on the right-hand side of the image, there's a prone figure, Tina Watson, about 100 feet underwater, unconscious or likely already dead. Tina was visiting Australia on her honeymoon with her new husband Gabe Watson, also a diver, who convinced her to get certified despite Tina being very nervous and uncomfortable underwater. During an open ocean dive that was far too advanced for her limited experience, Tina experienced an equipment malfunction and drowned. Her husband Gabe is, at best, an arrogant, incompetent, lying piece of shit who exaggerated his abilities as a certified rescue diver and was unable to save his wife when she began exhibiting signs of distress. At worst, he's a cold-blooded murderer who deliberately shut off her air supply until she passed out and then allowed her to drown. He gave 16 differing accounts of the incident, which occurred shortly after he requested that Tina make him her sole life insurance beneficiary. On the advice of her father, Tina didn't change her policy, but she told Gabe that she had. After being charged with Tina's murder, Gabe pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. His sentence was suspended after only 18 months. He is now back in Alabama. Jesus. That Wikipedia link. Husband stated he had an ear problem that prohibited him from going deeper to save her, and that there was nothing in his training as a rescue diver that included how to get someone in trouble to the surface. I've only been scuba diving a couple of times, so I'm fairly ignorant, but isn't getting someone in trouble to the surface a huge part of rescue diving? And when you have an ear condition that prohibits you from going deep underwater, wouldn't scuba diving end up pretty low on the list of activities? Edit. Comment above was removed. It was the murder of Tina Watson. There is a pic you can Google that shows Tina's unconscious, dead body on the ocean floor, incidentally captured by another diver. After being informed by Tina's family that flowers and gifts were repeatedly being vandalized or disappearing from her gravesite, even when chained down, police surveillance videos showed Watson removing them with bolt cutters and throwing them in trash cans. How could anybody think he's innocent? Edit. Because apparently this needs to be said per the dozen pedantic replies. I'm not saying that Gabe Watson is undeniably guilty because of his behavior at the gravesite. I'm just saying it's extremely bizarre and suspicious behavior to exhibit on top of the tons of evidence they already had against him. This was the last picture taken of Dale Earnhardt. It's weird because the race was televised and 10-15 million people were watching at the time, but this is the last one that shows him as a person and not just a car. This is a replay of the crash along with an onboard roof. He didn't have an onboard camera view, and the half-speed doesn't do justice as how hard and fast it was hitting the wall head-on at 190 miles per hour. He was the face and living legend of what was the second most popular sport at the time, and 20 years later fans who were watching at the time still haven't gotten over watching their hero die live on TV. Edit. I appreciate that this is bringing up a lot of memories. I really got introduced to death by being a NASCAR fan, but fortunately since this accident nobody has passed away since, including from this, which happened in the same race 19 years later. The replays at the end are still hard to watch and legit gave me the same anxiety Dale gave me until they announced he was stable like 2 hours later. Brandon Price. The picture and the article is the only known picture of him. He was living with his grandparents and being abused. He was dead when his grandmother brought him to the hospital. She has been charged, and the last I heard was still awaiting trial in his death. The community took up donations to pay for his burial and headstone. He looks completely demoralized in the picture, and I've always felt so bad for the guy. https://www.bulb.com/story/311936339/woman indicted for young grandson's murder/ The Creamers, Froon photos. Two photogenic Dutch girls traveling in Panama. They go hiking in the jungle and never return. Weeks later their backpack and some body fragments are found miles away in another mountain valley. In the backpack is a camera containing photos of them happily hiking up the trail, then a mysteriously deleted photo, then multiple somewhat random photos from days later, at night, somewhat randomly framed, with only hints that the girls are actually behind the camera. Apart from a photo of the hair on the back of one of their heads. Is she dead, sleeping? Where are they and how did they get there? And was it an accident or foul play? https://cowdicas.blogspot.com/2019/12/ The disappearance of Creamers and _11.html. m=1 has its own subreddit r. Creamers Froon. I dug through this case a while back. The most popular theory is that one of the girls got hurt and the other got hurt or lost trying to go back for help. When people think of hiking paths, they think of well-maintained and traveled paths. What these girls were hiking were not well-maintained paths. They have areas of dense foliage and strong streams that you cross using monkey bridges. As for the photos, my first theory is that one of the girls used her phone. camera flashed to see what was around her at night. Either she heard animals and was scaring them away, or she was severely dehydrated and hallucinating. You can drink jungle water, but you will most likely get sick if you're not used to it. The other theory that I read online, which seems more plausible, which every girl had the phone could see people searching in the distance and was using the flash to try and alert them. Either way, being lost, scared, tired, hungry and dehydrated can cause anyone to become irrational. One big misconception is people commenting on the bleached bones. There were articles mentioning that the remains found were bleached, so people thought actual bleach was used to bleach the bones. What most likely happened is that the bones were bleached by the sun, and since they were missing near the equator, the sunlight would be stronger and could bleach the bones quicker than usual. I doubt this was foul and most likely a tragic accident. There are a lot interesting bits of information about this case, but pretty much all of them have a reasonable explanation. Oh, I listened to a podcast about this on a run one time. Definitely creepy stuff. If I am remembering it right, the trail that they were supposed to be on was only about 5 miles. Crazy TP think you can get that lost, that fast. As for the photos of the back of their heads, it was theorized that it was to use the flash on the camera to light their way. But of course, we really never will know. Edit. It's from a series from the Parcast Network, Unexplained Mysteries. In my opinion, their content has kinda gotten iffy as time goes on, but they stick to facts and it's scripted, so easier for me to listen to. That story is so bananas. After Chapman came back and killed him, he laid down next to his copy of Catcher in the Rye, fully expecting to be absorbed into the book. After he was arrested and the cops were asking him why he killed Lennon, he basically said, "I don't know." Edit. A few edits to what I said. He may have not laid down by his book, but he did expect to essentially become Holden Caulfield and would end up in The Catcher in the Rye. Also, he said he killed Lennon for a variety of reasons. He was Christian, and Lennon said the Beatles were bigger than Jesus and imagined there's no heaven, thought he was a phony, wanted to become famous by killing someone famous, wanted to save the children by eliminating a bad influence, etc. But when he was arrested and sitting in the cop car, he was kind of in shock that the whole thing didn't go down as he expected and couldn't answer the question of why, as everyone was freaking out, and even said he was a Beatles fan afterwards. He was extremely mentally ill and constantly hallucinated tiny people that he would rule over and that he put in charge of his budget. He was also doing a bunch of this picture. https://america.cgtn.com/wp-content/uploads/2017/12/liveandysplane-crash.o5.jpg was taken of a group of people whose plane crashed in the Andes. They were eventually saved but had to resort to cannibalism to survive. They are all smiling in the photo, but it becomes eerie when you realize the human spine to the right of them in the picture. Edit. As many have pointed out, there is a movie based on this event called Alive. https://n.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/file partially reflected plutonium sphere.jpg https://n.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/demon_hash/media/file%3@ling_dragons_tail.jpg. The demon core was a 6.2 kilogram sphere of plutonium which was manufactured during the Manhattan Project. The core was involved in 2 criticality accidents. In this first accident, Henry Daghlian accidentally dropped the tungsten carbide brick onto the core and caused it to grow into supercriticality, exposing him to a lethal dose of radiation that killed him 25 days later. In the second accident, the scientists ignored protocols and used a screwdriver instead of shims to prevent the 2 beryllium spheres surrounding the core that were used in the experiment. If these 2 spheres closed completely, the core would have gone supercritical. One day, while performing this experiment, Louis Slotin was demonstrating this technique to his peers before leaving Los Alamos. His screwdriver slipped a fraction of an inch, and the spheres completely sealed the core, causing it to go supercritical. A burst of neutron radiation was released for an estimated half a second. Slotin ended up dead 9 days later, and his pair survived but died 20 years later due to a heart attack. I had to leave out a lot of details to keep this short, but there is more info here. https://n.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/demon_core